Welcome back. So this final video will be about creating resilience. And when I talk about creating resilience, I'm talking about things that you can do, on a daily basis to make a difference, to assuage trauma, to mitigate the impact of ACEs, to help people that have been through ACEs and also people who haven't. So I'm going to share my screen really quickly, and we'll start with understanding there are multiple paths, multiple ways to create resilience, multiple ways to to help people heal. There are also multiple systems involved. And when I talk about multiple systems, I'm talking about those that involve you, the individual, others around you, whether those are individual students, teachers, administrators, it doesn't matter, but also society as well. And I say it begins with you because it truly does. No matter what training I've been to regarding ACEs and resilience, the only person that we can really honestly control, because we want to control and make things better, right? The only person that we can only ultimately control is ourselves. That's reiterated over and over throughout, regardless of the training that I go to. I went. This is my certification training. This comes from the sanctuary model. It's trained by Joseph Benamati. They reworked the juvenile justice system in New Jersey to be trauma informed, and really it depended on the individuals they were training. What was really stressed upon me when I went to this training was that everybody's trained, from the most upper administrative, CEO type person, all the way down to the support staff, the janitorial staff, temporary staff. Everyone is trained, because if there's a break in the chain, then it basically kind of falls through. And so each person recognizes that they have a difference that they can make in a trauma-informed system. The biggest impediment that I've found in my own experience in working at Meadow Lake Hospital, in working at Youth and Family Services, in working where I'm at now, even at Northwestern, the biggest impediment to creating resilience and resilient systems are burned out professionals. When I used to work 8 hours a day with kids, I didn't recognize it then because I was so young. I was, at some point I was, but I was so young and I didn't recognize that these folks that were treating kids, no, they just need to sit down. They just need to learn the rules. The kind of cold, not just cold, not kind of cold, but cold, without that recognizing that potential and that uniqueness about each person that we interact with. No, we're going to set the rules. They're all the same. They're all standard. And I've got people, everybody's got to obey the rules. Everybody's got to agree to them. Yes, but you can treat people differently based upon their own unique skill sets, their own unique abilities, their own unique personalities. It takes a little bit of difference. Okay, maybe we can maintain the same rules, but when we reach out, when we make contact with somebody, when we acknowledge the humanity, the goodness within the kids around us, the other administrators around us, the other teachers around us, the support staff around us, the janitorial staff around us, whoever it is, when we acknowledge the goodness in that person, we change the system. We start to create a healthy system. I know each one of you started in the field to make a difference in the lives of kids. And if you're like me, you're full of passion, full of energy and excitement and hope. But what you run into, and what really the training says, what the training first of all says, that if you're in a helping profession, you very likely have a higher ACE score yourself than the general population out there. There is something about going through ACEs yourself that, if you're resilient, because each one of you are, because of the positions that you're in, if you're resilient yourself, you want to give back. And so there's something about that. However, we live in a system and a society where that's not been rewarded. That's not been rewarded in a while. In fact, living under each year-to-year budget cut after budget cut after budget cut. Thank goodness there was an education plan that that gave teachers more pay. There was another part of that package that it involved resources, and that didn't come through. you know, okay, now I'm working longer hours, but I still don't have the resources to help. Um, if you're like me and worked in mental health, uh, I mean, well, you're going to trim off the fat. We're going to make people more efficient by giving them less. That's not what happens. People end up taking more and more responsibilities, and they're overstressed, overworked, and less efficient. And then people complain, well, the system's not efficient. It's because you cut off our legs and our arms. It's like you didn't trim fat. You cut off necessary appendages. So we live with, and that goes with regardless of the system that you're in. If it's a publicly funded system right now, it's understaffed, under-resourced, and being systematically starved. And that's the real thing. And so when you put all of these people that want to make a difference, but yet they're kind of burned out and they're not seeing improvement, and then there's more stress. And what happens when there's more stress? This same thing happens within us that happens within the kids that are hypervigilant or snappy or rude or don't want to, or are tough to get along with. That same cortisol that's impacting them is impacting us. And so it takes us managing our own stress, managing and making our own systems better to make it better for them. Because what we take in, we also give out. So stressed children come to school exceedingly stressed teachers, especially in the past year, with and administrators and support staff and everybody having to deal with what we've dealt with in the past year. We have a chronically stressed system. What's this a recipe for? So it starts with you. And first off, I'm going to ask you, when we go through stress, what people tend to do is we attach to things that give us a release, that give us a moment of refuge from everything that's out there. And so whether that's social media, whether that's some sort of screen, whether it's a game, whether it's I put all these screens up here because this is honestly where a lot of our young people are taking their refuge now. It's not, if you recall the slide with the dopamine, and it can go either way. It can go into this oxytocin or it can go to this cortisol and adrenaline. The screen is not taking somebody towards oxytocin. It's taking somebody toward the stress, the cortisol, the adrenaline. And that's not helping, that's not helping neurologically. It's not helping systematically. And so what I would encourage you to do is start with you. Minimize your social media. If you can take Facebook, Twitter, whatever your feed is, Instagram off your phone, take it off your phone. Like, what? That's what I live by. I keep up with my friends. If you can find a social media platform that's congruent, that's fine. That's great. But it's been my experience and the experience of others that generally social media is a place of conflict. And so minimize social media, minimize gaming, minimize shopping. That's what I get my refuge out of. I got to get my shopping in. It's taking you away from connection with others. Yes, it's feeding your dopamine system when you buy something that you want, and it's giving you a minute of refuge from all these other stresses, but it's not bringing down your cortisol. It's not contributing to your health. I've even cut out notifications, because there's always something coming up on that phone. Oh, I heard it buzz. Oh, that's such and such. If you've got to get a phone call or a text message out, it's fine. But there's a way to start, and it starts with us, because so many times there are adults, and I'm not saying you, because God forbid we run into parents all the time. They're not paying attention to their family, but paying attention to their paying attention to the device. I've been guilty as well. I'm working on it. We become attached to good. There's the screen I was describing. We become attached to goods and commodities and not each other. This activates dopamine and cortisol, and not the dopamine there doesn't lead to serotonin, oxytocin, and the endorphins for calm. This is a healing state over here. This is an inflammation state. This is a state of stress. And so if you want to start encouraging this healing, do things that attach to others and not so much the commodities or the things that we experience on screens, or even substances. If you're taking refuge in a drink every now and then, okay, well, that's probably okay, but that can turn into worse habits as well. I mentioned Dr. Rediger in another, and I don't have the book right next to me, but the book is called Cured, and he references a lot of things that we discuss. Actually, references ACEs in the book, and so there are 4 facets of healing that I was able to pick out in the book. You basically creating an environment for you to heal, recognizing first of all what he indicates, and he looking at spontaneous remission when people heal from these terminal illnesses. Folks generally look at their diet. Folks generally look at what they're taking in, what they're eating. And throughout history, it was unimaginable for us to stockpile, preserve enough food. Daily activities, if thousands of years throughout human existence, our daily activities were spent preparing food, finding food. That was our main kind of goal. It wasn't, what we're so far kind of attached from that, unless you live on a farming community. We're so far detached from that. It's hard for us to sometimes get fulfillment from that which we are doing. But he even goes so far, which is suggesting, what are you ingesting with your mind? Are you taking in things that are leading to that stress response, or are you taking in things that are leading to calm? So I'll talk about diet in just a minute. Also acknowledging our immune system. Our immune system goes right in. It corresponds really closely to our diet and how we're treating our body. I'll talk a little bit about what we can do with exercise and mindfulness and grounding, ways to kind of to reset our stress response. Also talking about connection, love, compassion. What he noticed in these people that are overcoming these illnesses, that they're going to places that are non-toxic socially. In other words, they're unplugging from social media, they're unplugging from unhealthy relationships that they're in, whether that's a romantic relationship, whether that's a community. But what he's finding is that people just really, he kind of uses a terminology called burn your boat, where it's like, try to burn all the even if it's something that's kind of led you to where you are in your life. If it's unhealthy, it's leading to the state of inflammation, burn it, let it go. Even though you may have floated to this island yourself on the boat, learn how to live without it. And that's tough to do. But having supportive people around us, if you have supportive people around you, you yourself are going to be more supportive to the students and people around you. The oxytocin, then, it flourishes in community. Also talking about spirituality and your own personal identity. So I'll hit on those 4 things. I'm going to stop here for fear of going too long, but hopefully these next few minutes will provide you some hands-on things to do.